Hey everybody, Jim and Roth here with the one and only Dolph Lundgren. Talk about his new film, Skin Trade. Now this seems to have been a passion project of yours for a few years now, right?
Yeah, I've had the script for about 7 years actually, different versions of it. And I never thought it was going to get financed, but it got financed in late 2013. We shot in 2014 and it's coming out this year.
And you were not only starring in this, but you wrote this.
Yeah, I came up with the original idea because I read this report about, I think it was 30, 40 girls that were being smuggled from Mexico to the U.S. and they left them on the border. The smugglers got scared and the cops or something, and they left them in this van and they all suffocated, they all died, So there's a scene in the movie sort of like that, which kind of kicks off everything. And then I wrote the script and, like I said, you have these things for years and you can kind of tinkle with them and trying to figure out a way to find the other actors, the cast, put it together so you can finance it. But it just came out of nowhere. I ended up shooting a lot of it in Thailand, around Bangkok and on the Cambodian border.
Weren't you kicking around directing it at one point as well?
Yeah, I thought about that too, but I ended up producing it because I directed a couple of movies before, and I always thought, well, if I'm going to direct something, I want to produce it as well. Because, if you direct and you star and you write something and then somebody else has the ultimate power, you're always walking around a little bit nervous. And sometimes they'll yank it away from you and, destroy your baby kind of thing. So I decided to produce it, and because it was shot in Thailand, we had a Thai director, somebody who could speak to the crew and speak to some of the actors in Thai.
You talked about finding the right cast for this. You had a great cast. I mean, you got Ron Perlman, who's the villain of the piece, and your sort of partner in crime is Tony Jaa. Can you talk about some of the action that we can expect from you guys?
Yeah, Tony Jaa, he's a great martial artist. He's a Thai boxer originally, and he's done all the Ong Bak pictures, And he has like a kind of a following of kind of, well, I wouldn't say geeks, but guys who love his movies.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're geeks.
That's right.
Like anyway.
Geeks are welcome here.
So anyway, now he gets to do like a mainstream picture, and he's a great guy. Obviously, he's a tremendous fighter. I have a big fight with him in the picture, and he's doing one with Michael J. White as well. So we spent a lot of time coordinating and shooting those fights. Of course, Ron Perlman's in it, great actor, and he kind of anchors the piece because he plays the heavy, and there's he's the father figure of these. There's like 4 sons that he has. They're all like evil, so like one after the other. So there's more of a body count there on the bad guys. And then we have Selena Jay's in it. She plays the girl who's an informer in the club, who kind of has an affair with Tony, and also Peter Weller, who is a great actor. Who's just amazing as police captain. He just takes over the set when he walks on. And doesn't speak any of the dialogue in the script, but apart from that, it was good.
Tell us a little bit about your character. Basically, he's going after the bad guys, and then it becomes incredibly personal for him. Can you tell us a little bit about what the setup to his actual quest, his mission is?
A little revenge, right?
Yeah, as usual, revenge and redemption, all of these movies, right, and all the westerns and all that. Well, basically, he's investigating this human trafficking ring. They're operating in Asia, but they're branching out into the U.S., and he's investigating while I'm investigating. And basically, I mess with the wrong people, and one of Perlman, or his Dragovich is his name in the movie, he's a Serbian guy, and one of his sons is there, his youngest son, who's in the U.S. studying at NYU. He's there. He's going to be part of the business, but obviously, he is part of that, the first sting operation that I'm in charge of, and I end up killing this kid because he's firing on us, and it's just crazy. But anyway, he dies, and of course his dad gets a little bit upset over that, and then my family gets wiped out, my wife and daughter, and then I'd go to Bangkok to find this guy. Basically, that's it. And Tony Jaa is a Thai cop who's put on the case to track me down, because you can't have some guy running around killing people, in Bangkok. So basically, we're opposites in the beginning, adversaries, but then he comes around. He also has an interesting backstory. He comes around, and we end up joining forces against these guys.
Is there something interesting for you? I mean, I don't want to bring the room down, but it really is a big problem, human trafficking. People don't know how prevalent it is. To kind of get that out there in the form of a really entertaining action film.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what it turned out to be. We're, you know, when I wrote the script, I didn't know that much of it. I thought it was something I hadn't seen a film about, you know, back 7 years ago. But obviously now it's a big deal, and you know the president is talking about it, the Secretary of State. I'm involved with an organization called CAST LA. They're the biggest organization in the U.S. who helps survivors of human trafficking, because a lot of the cases are in the U.S., which we don't kind of believe. But there's about 30% of the girls are American girls, you know, and 70% foreigners. But it all happens here, and you know, human trafficking is the third biggest crime in the world after drugs and guns. It's about $30 billion industry. And there's, you know, 20 or 30 million slaves in the world today. So it's a huge problem. And we're trying, you know, the film and the filmmakers are trying to show a little bit of what that is and make people think about that a little bit. Maybe everybody can help out to end this.
Yeah.
Now, you filmed this primarily in Bangkok. What was, does your character kind of have any like fish out of water kind of moments there, or does he just kind of hit the ground running and?
There's a little bit of fish out of water, but basically, yeah, he hits the ground running because right at the airport, they know he's coming because they're onto him. So he has to escape that and escape Tony, and then there's like kind of a big twist in the picture where Tony's partner gets killed, and Tony believes that I did it, but I didn't. So now he's out to kill me, you know. So basically, he's chasing me down while I'm chasing Dragovich down and the bad guys. So it's, you know, we try to show off some of the environment, and especially in the opening of the picture, we're in a village, you know, and we follow one of these girls who thinks she's going for a modeling contract in the U.S. or something like that, but obviously she's being trafficked. And we see her later in the picture as well. And then basically it's sort of, it's a straight line, second, third act, straight line kind of chase, which goes Tony after me, then me and him on to Dragovich and his sons to find out what's going on. Is
this kind of like writing, directing, producing? Is this more and more of what you want to be doing at this point in your career?
You know, directing is a huge undertaking because it's about a year of your life, you know. That's why I didn't direct this picture. I found it was better to be producer and kind of have some power over it, but not be involved in every shot. But yeah, I have a picture I like to direct, which is a period piece, totally different, set in Europe during the First World War, actually, 100 years ago, exactly 100 years ago. So that I've had for many years. I'm working on that. And I'm trying to produce another picture here in the U.S., which is kind of a crime drama, LA underworld, drugs, strippers, guns. I mean, basically, it's written by this girl who, it's a little bit like The Wrestler, where somebody wrote a film about, you know, wrestlers, you know, how it is, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a
well,
great
this
movie.
is about strippers, so not all strippers, but the main character is a stripper. And it was kind of interesting when I read the script, you know, it's like, wow, it's kind of cool, because you get to see the other side of it. Then, of course, there are, you know, drugs and violence and stuff. So that's kind of almost like an art house picture I like to produce.
Now, I heard a rumor recently that you're going to be in the Coen Brothers next movie, Hail Caesar.
Well, yeah, I'm in it, unless they cut me out. Basically, yeah, I got a call. It was very last minute. They, you know, it's a movie set in 1949, I think it is, during the McCarthy hearings. You know,
Wow.
and it's about the studio executive, played by Josh Brolin, who, you know, he's kind of the fixer. So everybody's like, this one's pregnant, that one's like having an affair with the director, and that one's going to jail. So he has to fix everything so it looks hunky-dory to the audience in those days, right? Now, there are these communist writers that really idolize the Soviet Union, and they want to, you know, they want to defect. And one of them, one guy who's involved in their group is this young, kind of like a Gene Kelly, song and dance man, you know, very flamboyant, you know, a little effeminate, but anyway, it's played by Channing Tatum, and he's
Speaking of strippers.
and he wants to defect to the Soviet Union, and hey, you know, home below there's a Russian sub surfaces, you know, outside the coast of Malibu, has this cool kind of sub-captain that's
awesome.
sort of welcoming him to Russia, Mother Russia. Yeah, that's it. Oh, they kidnap somebody. I won't tell you the story, but they have some money there when they get to the communist cause. So anyway, it's a fun movie. And
That's awesome.
That is amazing. So you're playing a Russian sub-captain, and you said you're even dressed sometimes?
yeah, even the men's clothing.
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. What was that?
Yeah.
What was it like to work with the Coen Brothers? What was that experience like?
You know, it was, I was sort of, I felt a bit, outclassed, sort of like walking on the set. I mean, I felt a little bit like, just as like Academy Award-winning people, everybody, the costume designers, the, DP, everybody's like top notch. But it was, they were very nice to me, and to tell you the truth, I was sort of, they were sort of really, really excited that I did a part, and I kind of, yeah, maybe there's something where you're in the action world. I told Sly this actually. I saw him at a party same night, and I said, look, when I walked on set, people are like, kind of like couldn't believe that I'm real, like in person. Where I was sort of like starstruck by these guys, So it works both ways.
Yeah.
Because I think you play these larger-than-life characters, people kind of, it's a different image than when you're playing regular folks.
Right.
And I said, hey. They were starstruck by me. I said, Sly, you should walk on that. I'll fall over backwards. I'll fall off the sub.
Now, did I read this right, that your first movie was a James Bond movie?
View to a Kill.
Yeah, View to a
first
Kill.
feature,
Yeah.
Well, I was there on the set because my girlfriend was in the picture. Grace Jones played the villain,
Okay,
the female
yeah.
villain, with Chris Walken. And there's a scene at it's like a race course outside of Paris. And I was there, hanging out, taking some sun. I was laying on the grass, or whatever. I was fighting at the time. I wasn't acting or anything. And the director, I guess somebody hadn't shown up, and John Glenn was the director. And he said, hey, you want to be in this movie? I said, well, I don't know. What would I have to do? He says, well, you got to just stay in here and point a gun at Christopher Walken. I was like, okay, I can do that.
Your whole life changed. Yeah.
My life, she says, yeah, I'm gone in 10 seconds, but basically says, hey, good job, kid. I said, Mary British, good job, kid. You could be in a movie someday. It's like, yeah, well, next year I was in the Rocky picture. So
Yeah.
Fast, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that what really, because you had been on your way to get your PhD at MIT, right? And then you kind of got bit by the acting bug?
Yeah, well, I had done some acting as a kid in Sweden, some acting in music and painting and all that. But my dad was an engineer, and my older brother's an engineer, my other brother's an engineer, so it was like, well, I had no choice, I had to sort of prove it to my dad. So I used it to travel. I wanted to come to America, and I couldn't afford to travel in those days, so I got some scholarships, and yeah, I went to MIT for a while, but I also had this thing going with Grace in New York, Grace Jones, this girl I was seeing. And well, girl, she was pretty crazy, flamboyant singer, and for this young Swedish boy, was very innocent, and basically had only been hitting the bag and shaking test tubes for all my life. Grown-up life. I was kind of awakening to go to Studio 54 and meet Andy Warhol and all of these people, David Bowie, whatever, Michael Jackson, never have you in those days. And it was pretty cool. So I sort of said, well, yeah, engineering or show business.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it was a really hard
Yeah.
decision.
But imagine a lot of guys when they walked in the lab and saw you were like, that's a scientist? like,
Yeah.
It's like out of a movie, the movie version of a scientist.
Exactly.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah, it was bizarre. I mean, I'm sure you're right, even though I didn't realize that at the
Yeah.
time. But I know at the end of that period at MIT, when I arrived, because I got a special admission there because I went to school in Australia for a year, and there's 6 months difference in the academic year because it's a southern hemisphere, so they finish at Christmas. So I had 6 months delay before I got my grades and all of that. So they actually waited. The admissions people at MIT were really nice. They waited because I was admitted to Berkeley. But I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to MIT. So anyway, they waited, and they're waiting for this, Swedish sort of like whiz kid, sipper nerd to show up. So then I showed up. The day I showed up, I had this big black motorcycle, a Yamaha, That 1200cc. That was on the front in leather and gracious on the back. I think they just in there going, what the
You
hell?
chemical engineers here.
Looking out the window.
Where is this movie? I want to see this movie too.
Yeah,
This is,
you're right.
you got to do like
movie-
your version of Magic Mike then.
Yeah.
You know, I should. Yeah.
You should. That's
I was
fascinating.
probably shirtless too at the time. What the hell?
The story's just getting better. I wanted to ask you though a little bit about Masters of the Universe, and like you branched off then into Masters of the Universe and Punisher, these two huge genre characters. What was it like basically stepping into those roles, into that kind of larger genre universe sort of?
You know, it was different in those days because people didn't make movies about toys. Usually didn't play a toy. It was like, oh shit, should I do this? My career is over. Whereas now, that's the biggest, thing you can get is, well, Mattel calls you to play, Aquaman or whoever it is.
Yeah.
But in those days, it was less, suspect almost. So I did Masters, which is quite different because Rocky, I was his Russian Soviet villain. And then I was supposed to play this kind of heroic character, and it was a bit of it was a lot of pressure. I felt a lot of pressure because the other one was easy, where Sly was in charge and I was just doing my job. Where here now I was the star of this picture. Same with the Punisher too, because that also was I hadn't read many comics, and that was kind of a new comic at the time, but I also felt weird about the skull and all of that stuff, and but I think that film was pretty interesting the way they did that, and they had a lot of the Mad Max people involved in the costumes and stuff, and the motorcycles. Well, they had this huge Harley that they cut it and stretched it so it would fit me, and I think it was probably like a Fat Boy that was stretched, and I should have bought that because it was such a cool bike. It was the coolest bike ever, and I don't know what happened to it, but no, it was fun. It was kind of movies, Canon had some problems with the first one with Masters, and they didn't really follow through. And the second one, I think also there was a problem with New World Pictures when they kind of went under at that time. So both of them weren't sort of perhaps didn't turn out as well as didn't do as well as people were hoping. But I think that people still show up with those 8x10s when I go to say an Expendables opening. So there's some fans out there.
I know we got to let you go pretty soon, but I got to ask you, you've brought up Rocky and all of these iconic characters. I have a dream of a Gunner spin-off series from the Expendables because it's my favorite character. A lot of alcohol and a lot of genius. But is there
Brought to you by Stoli.
is there one of these?
Edged weapons, liquor.
And a lot of brilliance. I loved when they brought in that element of you in the second movie, that Gunner was a genius. But is there one of these iconic characters? Would you like to return to any of them? Is there one that you would like to resurrect?
Moron. Anyway, what were you saying?
I don't know. I was so taken with what you were saying. I think, would you want to? Is there any one of these characters that you would want to bring back to life?
Well, not Ivan Drago. He should rest in peace.
He rests.
Yeah, because I think when you do too many times, it kind of takes some of the magic away. I think that's why that character is sort of fairly, iconic, and because you can't see him again, you never will. But except when Sly does another Rocky picture and you see the playbacks.
Yeah.
No, I think the Gunner character is interesting because he has a lot of levels. There's a lot of madness in there, but kind of fun madness. So that would be cool. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, there's actually a rumor going around that, they're doing that new movie Creed, which is about Apollo's, I guess, grandson, and Sly showing up as Rocky, basically kind of a mentor, but there's this rumor that his character is dying or is very sick in the movie. If that's the end of Rocky, how would you feel about Rocky going out that way and like Ivan didn't get to kill him in the ring or anything?
Well, it was close,
Yeah.
I got there, yeah.
But we can all change.
But let's talk about the movie for a second.
Sure.
The close he died in the shoot. No, they're in the shoot. No, but I think I heard that too about the cancer or something like that. I don't know, but well, these are Sly's created these iconic characters. Three of these franchises. I don't think anybody else can think of have done it. Well, not what he's in it. Maybe Star Wars something like that, but. George Lucas would be the only guy there, I suppose. Spielberg, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think. I don't think he's going to want to kill him off yet because
Yeah.
he probably wants to play Rocky again. You know.
Yeah.
But, no, I think Ivan, he was shipped off to Siberia and he was in the salt mines there, losing the fight.
I was always
To drag
wondering what
himself to
happened
death
after
in, like,
the wall fell to
89.
Well, I'm all about the Gunner series,
Yeah.
so that's got my vote.
Cool, yeah.
All right. Well, Skin Trade comes out on
It's at
VOD on
April 23rd,
Yeah.
and then on May 8th.
On Blu-ray, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And theatrical.
in theatrical, yes.
So it's April 23rd. It's going to be on VOD, and then May 8th, it's going to be released theatrically. So you should go see it both ways.
yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be a cool premiere here in LA, May 6th. You
Awesome.
folks are around. You can get tickets for that somehow.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring some fans in right for that. And we should do
Sounds
something
good.
for these guys too.
See?
You know what I mean?
You heard it
make
right
things
here.
happen, Erudite.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
All right, guys. Well,
Let's
that'll do it for this. But for all things on Dolph Lundgren, keep it here on IGN.